the polling that I've seen or anybody else has seen is not very good. There was a memo. My friend Jim Messina said, I said, Democrats need to quit bedwetting, but my wife's already changed me to rubber sheets.
James Carville, the long-time Democrat political operative, yucking it up with his CNN anchor pal about his wife putting rubber sheets on his bed because, he's very traumatized by Joe Biden's bad poll numbers. So he's wetting his bed, I guess, according to James Carville. That means they really need to get somebody other than Joe Biden, and then they've got a real problem because the vice president is next in line. But she's awful, terrible, cackling Kamala, and her poll numbers are the worst poll numbers in the history of vice presidential polls. That's actually true. She has the lowest approval rating of any vice president since we started taking polls and asking about vice presidents in the United States. So that's a problem for the Democrats because there are other polls that show that just about any Republican would beat Kamala Harris in a one-on-one race. You know how the Democrats are. But the problem they have, of course, is that she's a WOC. She's a woman of color. That means she's a woman, presumably, and of color. That's the OC part. It's not Ocean City or Orange County. It's of color when you're talking to Democrats. So as a WOC, they can't dump her for a white guy like Gavin Newsom because, they're the party of the Confederate States of America and slavery, so that would look bad. That's an optics thing. It's an amazing time. These people. Can I say these people? Because I mean it. Boy, oh boy. But James Carville, so the poll numbers, not so good for Joe Biden. He's got a 39% approval rating, a 39% approval rating. That is, for Democrats following along, that's below 40%, and that's not good. If you're in politics, that's not a good place to be. The CNN poll has them very distraught at CNN and beyond, the Washington Post and elsewhere. But in the CNN poll, Biden faces negative job rating and concerns about his age as he gears up for 2024. Huh? I'm gearing up for 2024. I got to get out of here. And the 39% approval rating, that's very, very bad. If you're 49%, they say you're underwater. This is the Washington terminology, right? That you're underwater if you're at 38%. And if you're at 49%, but he's at 39%, which is real bad, not good at all. And when you've got James Carville freaking out and panicking, then the Democrat Party is freaking out and panicking. Views of Biden's performance in office and on where the country stands are deeply negative, CNN types in a state of panic. In the new CNN poll, his job approval rating stands at just 39%, and 58% say that his policies have made economic conditions in the U.S. worse. Now, these are not the poll numbers you look for because it was James Carville who famously said so long ago, it's the economy, stupid, right? And it's still the economy, stupid. In fact, I think he might have said that recently, or some other Democrat did. So 39% approval rating, 58% say his policies have made economic conditions in the U.S. worse. And boy, oh boy, that's pretty bad. In fact, that's an 8%. The number of people that say that he's made the economy worse is up 8% from 50% last fall. So 6 months ago or so. Maybe a little more than that. 70%, 70, say things in the country are going badly. That's not good, you see. A persistent negativity that has held for much of Biden's time in office. And 51% say that government should be doing more to solve the nation's problems. Oh, you want to solve the problems? Well, that's not really in the cards, I think, right now, because Joe Biden is living in the White House and you guys put him there. And they're not good at this because they're not on our side. Roughly 3/4 of Americans say that they're seriously concerned that Biden's age might negatively affect his current level of physical and mental competence. Sure, his mental competence. 73% of us say that we are concerned about his age and how his age, at the age of 80, some 80-year-olds are sharp as razors. And Joe Biden is not one of those people. He was never really razor sharp, even when he was in his 40s. He's never been a particularly bright guy, and that's about as generous as I can get with that. So 73% of us think that his age is an issue. Yes, sir. And 76%, it gets worse and worse. His ability to serve out another full term if reelected, 76% of us, more than 3/4 of us, say that we think that's going to be a problem. Yes, sir. Yeah. And a smaller percentage, 68%, that's a vast majority, say that we're seriously concerned about his ability to understand the next generation's concerns. These are very, very bad poll numbers. 72% of younger people say that he doesn't understand anything, and that's anybody under 65, which to Joe is pretty young. So, man, oh man. So these poll numbers are very, very bad. And in fact, a broad 67% majority of Democrats and Democrat-leaning voters now say they are it is very or extremely likely that Biden will again be the party's presidential nominee, but this is a matter of concern for them. Now let's get to some audio here. Now let's go to James Carville. We have James Carville. Let's go to soundbite number 1. James Carville and Abby Phillip, who is an anchor woman and Democrat employed by CNN.
For voters, it's his age that they're concerned about, his mental acuity, his health. What does that tell us?
What does that tell us, James Carville?
To say the least, the polls are not great, and it tells us that voters are expressing some apprehension here. It's pretty clear. I mean, there's not much else you can say when you look at them.
That voters are paying attention and somehow getting the news in spite of CNN and in spite of ABC News and in spite of the Washington Post. The propaganda machine of the Democrat Party, their merger of state and corporate power, gives them information dominance. And from Saturday Night Live to Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel, you see the Jimmy Fallon story today. Apparently he's the mean, terrible boss, and everybody that works for him hates him. But it sounds like a lot of people that work for him might be lame-brained deadbeats too, because, it's a Democrat operation. James Carville talking about the polls, and I want to play this again because it made me laugh when I heard it. James Carville talking about the level of panic that he's experiencing.
The polling that I've seen or anybody else has seen is not very good. There was a memo. My friend Jim Messina said, I said, Democrats need to quit bedwetting, but my wife's already changed me to rubber sheets.
There's a lot of bedwetting going on among the Democrats, and Carville's admitting it out loud, which is quite unusual, I can assure you. And he's sounding the alarm for the Democrats who are paying attention, few though they may be.
You can't look at this and not say that you're concerned. It's just, for me to come on television and say, I don't find this alarming or troubling at all would be stupid of me. I mean, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's alarming, and he's wetting his bed, and these numbers are disturbing, and you can't say you're not alarmed, which means he's sounding the alarm. And again, we should go back and look. I think Kevin pulled the video that I posted months ago saying that Joe Biden would not be the nominee next year. And this is gradually, slowly coming to fruition. There are filing deadlines when you're allegedly running for the presidency, which Joe Biden is apparently doing, although he's not campaigning, and he didn't campaign last time either. The media did all of that for him. He's not campaigning. He's not planning on debating anybody because he's not up to the task of debating. But let's get back to CNN because they're wetting their bed. They're getting rubber sheets. And Erin Burnett is, again, a former MSDNC spokesmodel for the Democrat Party, and now she's at CNN. What's the difference? She was talking to the apocalyptic death cultist Katie Porter, who teaches her 9-year-old daughter that the earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon, and that we should all be angry about that. So here is the Democrat Party's Erin Burnett and the Democrat Party's Katie Porter on CNN.
67% of Democrats and Democratic leading independents want the party to nominate someone other than Joe Biden for 2024. Does the Democratic Party need to start seriously looking at someone else?
President Biden has done a terrific job on the economy.
What?
And I think this is a matter of just people wanting to sort of dream up what they could imagine for different kinds of candidates at this point. But the truth is Joe Biden has a terrific story to tell on the economy. He's not getting a ton of help telling it.
Maybe, Erin, you should be giving him more help telling the tale of the economy, which is a fictional account of how well things are going. But they're actually going out there with straight faces and talking about how great everything is and telling you, well, again, it's the old, you're going to believe me or your lying eyes. You go to the gas station, you go to the grocery store. There is still in my neighborhood in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, I go to the grocery store with a list of 10 things on a Post-it note, and there are probably going to be 3 or 4 things that I can't find in the grocery store, which is the first time in my life that has happened, where you go to a grocery store in the United States of America and you can't find Planters dry roasted peanuts, the salted variety. They might have lightly salted or unsalted, but they may not have what you're looking for. And Erin Burnett warning Katie Porter, 67% of Democrats and Dem-leaning voters are advocating other. Would you like Joe Biden or anyone else, which is what other means. And 67% of Democrat voters are saying other. 67%, that's more than 2/3. Other. Well, who is other? We don't care, is the response. Anyone other than Joe Biden. And Katie Porter then just starts lying like Sacagawea. And, like a lion Sacagawea. I don't think Sacagawea was a big liar personally. But she's lying Sacagawea. And, it's a terrific economy and a deep state of denial. And we just need more help telling the story of how great everything is because, why would people believe their own real-life personal experiences when they can believe what CNN is telling them about the economy? And they really get away with this stuff. Erin Burnett and apocalyptic Katie.
And I know you and I have had many conversations about the economy, and that's an important issue. We could talk about it.
We talk.
How significant,
Don't stammer.
Successes really are, and also the perception.
The successes.
But do you really think, ultimately, Congresswoman, that if people just saw the economy differently, they wouldn't care about all these other issues that they seem to have strong opinions on, the stamina, the age, whether they're proud to have him as president, all of those, frankly, pretty damning numbers.
And the earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon. So there's that.
I think at the end of the day,
listen to this.
You look at the Biden ability to win independent voters, particularly over Trump. I think this is shaping up with some of the exact same demographics going to support President Biden as did last time. And I think you hear, if anything, even stronger concerns about President Trump.
See, Trump running against Trump is better than running with Biden.
If you win the nomination, do you want Biden to campaign by your side?
Well, I absolutely want to be President Biden's partner in helping him deliver a strong message on the economy across the country. The
economy. Yeah, it's the economy, stupid. And the economy is going so great. Isn't this economy just great? This is the best economy I've ever seen. If you can't believe Katie, the earth is on fire, we're all going to die soon, Porter, then who can you believe, honestly? President Joe Biden's plan to inflict upon us the digital dollar is already nefariously underway, and it's very important to Learn all you can about this. Get smart on this topic because the potential consequences are, catastrophic. Contrary to their claims, believe it or not, this is not in your best interest, and time is of the essence. So getting smart now and taking action is a really great idea when it comes to protecting your savings and your retirement. You can help protect your savings from the risks of Joe Biden's digital dollar scheme by diversifying with gold and silver IRAs. You know how you get started with that? You call my friends at American Alternative Assets. Call them at 888-4GOLD-20. That's 888-446-5320. They'll give you all the guidance you need on safeguarding your retirement savings. Say no to Joe Biden's nefarious digital dollar. Call 888-4GOLD-20, 888-446-5320. Call them today. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Bomb, 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 bomb. Yeah, so the Democrats are starting to panic. What will they do? What will they do? They know Joe Biden's not up to it. They don't care about that. They just care about losing the election. Especially, Trump, who ought to be very cautious, if you know what I mean. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. All right, it is Friday, and we're excited because Mike the Lib is on the line. Mike the Lib. We don't have all the time in the world, though. But let's go to Mike the Lib. Mike the Lib calling from Gainesville, Virginia. Mike the Lib, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yes, we have an extremely strong labor market. That's why we have inflation. And basically the minimum wage workers are making a lot more today than they made before the pandemic. They went from like $10 an hour to over $15 an hour. So what's your solution? Having them make a lot less, because that's how we kept inflation down previously.
So you're saying labor is making a lot more money from $10 an hour to $15 an hour, which is a fiction. Yeah. Which is a fiction.
Or above that.
Which is a fiction, of course. But let me go to
you go to any stores, they're advertising over $15 an hour.
Oh, well, and only where that's mandated by the mandatory left.
No, that's mandated. It's mandated by the market. There's a labor shortage, Chris.
Well, I'm looking at...
That's why you have it.
I'm looking at CNBC here, who says the cost of groceries up by almost 20%. The cost of everything overall under Joe Biden. Since April of 2021, the cost of food prepared at home risen by almost 20%. Gas prices through the roof, and there's more coming up. There are murderers on the loose all over the place. I don't want to be a downer, it's Friday and everything. You got that illegal alien from Brazil that murdered the woman in Pennsylvania by stabbing her to death, stabbed her 38 times in front of her two little girls, and then got convicted, and he escaped, and he's on the loose. He's been on the loose for more than a week now. Starting in Pennsylvania, he did that Spider-Man escape with the two walls. Kind of an amazing maneuver if you've seen the video. And he's on the loose, and police are still looking for that murderer. He was also wanted for murder in Brazil, and he escaped Brazil and came to the United States, where he murdered a woman here, and then he escaped, and he's on the loose. And police know that if he gets a chance, he's going to vote Democrat. They know for sure. Also, a murderer escaped from the police. An accused and arrested murderer was taken to George Washington University Hospital a couple of days ago. And he escaped. I was downtown. The police helicopter was overhead, and police were looking for him, and they're still looking for him because the murderer on the loose that escaped from his gurney, it's a gurney, like a stretcher thing in a hospital, and he was supposed to have been handcuffed to the gurney, but he wasn't. He apparently still, he ran away with one handcuff attached to one of his wrists, and that was supposed to be attached to something that he couldn't walk away with, but that didn't work out, so he escaped, and now he's on the loose. So keep your eyes peeled. Police say they're looking for a Democrat. He's a Democrat. They actually did describe him as a black male, 6 feet, 205 or something, more than 200 pounds, and dreadlocks down to his shoulders. And he was wearing all white, but with one red shoe, right? It's an old art movie, but never mind that. Also, we just learned moments ago, a bomb threat at Arlington National Cemetery delays funeral services, and they've shut down Arlington National Cemetery because of a bomb threat. A bomb threat just in Arlington National Cemetery closed due to bomb threat from Arlington Now, a local news outlet in Arlington that actually does some solid stuff I've seen in the past. So in Arlington National, this is September 11th weekend, and there are always funerals on any given day at Arlington National Cemetery. But Arlington National Cemetery is now closed to funerals and to the public due to a Friday morning bomb threat by a Democrat. Obviously, a Democrat is suspected in this case. The cemetery said on its social media that the threat is being investigated. The cemetery's response teams and law enforcement partners are on site investigating the threat. And the public is requested to avoid the area and wait for updates posted to our social media platforms. What is it with Democrats? What's the matter with these people? Honestly, you got to wonder, don't you? I think so. Hey, this Sunday is Chunk Todd's last Sunday as the host of, Meet the Press. He was always wrong for the job, but, he's a former Democrat Senate campaign staffer, and his wife is a big Democrat Party apparatchik who has taken in millions from the Bernie Sanders campaign and beyond. Pay no attention to any of that. Also, Mike the Lib called in a couple of minutes ago. I didn't get to spend enough time with Mike the Lib, but when he called in, he wanted to talk about how great the Bidenomics are working. Did you see that they're planning on bringing Bidenomics to India? They're actually saying this out loud. They're going to India for the G20, and their group of 20 countries with big economies. And Xi Jinping is not coming from China. Vlad the Impaler is not coming from Russia because the axis of evil is back up and running. North Korea, Russia, China, and Iran have joined forces to assail and undermine the United States of America. And they get all the help in the world from the Democrats here, don't they? But in any case, Mike the Lib, listen, he says, hey, pay's gone from $10 to $15 for people around the country. In some places like D.C., they've mandated pay increases because they're not capitalists. They don't believe in the free market determining these things. But according to CNBC, and this is a couple of months ago, they're talking about the price of everything. Prices for furniture and bedding, 16% higher than 2 years ago. And over the course of the last 2 years, any renter that's renewed their lease knows that rent has surged by about 20% in the last 2 years. Thanks, Joe Biden. Looking out for the little guy, right? And the cost of essentials like groceries, CNBC is telling me, utilities and gas increased by more than 20%. And the cost of items in the index all across everything increased by 13% over the last 2 years. And they keep telling us that inflation's at about 2%, or 3% is what they're claiming. The cost of groceries up by almost 20% under Joe Biden over the course of the last 2 years. Your food prepared at home, just amazing. And when you're a Democrat, no big deal because the media's got your back. Chicken prices have soared. Wholesale producers struggle to meet demand, cutting back on production. Part of it is the Chinese pandemic because of the communists in Wuhan playing with germ warfare agents. They say at CNBC, prices declined slightly after peaking in late 2022, but they're still up 20% over the last 2 years. The price of eggs, the price of chicken, the price of everything, up, up, up. And, you know, the idea that this is offset by people making $15 an hour is comical. It's absurd. It's wrong. It's not true. Also, Seton Motley, writing at lessgovernment.org, Bidenomics, record total personal savings to record total personal debt in 4 years. And he points out that under President Trump, Americans had set a record for personal savings, and 4 years later, we've flip-flopped that. We've reversed it. And now personal debt is king. We've broken all records on personal debt. We've broken records on credit card debt. And Seton Motley has a great piece on this at lessgovernment.org from September 5th, a couple of days ago. And Americans are getting crushed by debt. And it may just get worse because that's the trend. Record $1 trillion in credit card debt. Bidenomics is great for big banks, Seton Motley writes. And of course, real wages will not keep up with rising prices. And now they've started splitting hairs here with inflation versus the increase in prices. Isn't that what inflation is? That everything's more expensive? And gasoline, I think gasoline, and people say, well, on Inauguration Day, it shouldn't be Inauguration Day. That shouldn't be the starting point. Starting point should be Election Day. When the media announced that Joe Biden had won the presidency, that's when the oil companies started running for cover because they knew about his anti-energy policies, and that's when everything started to change. And of course, Saudi Arabia is cutting back production of oil. Russia is cutting back production of oil. And Joe Biden just announced more areas of Alaska that he will prohibit oil production, even though it's in the Arctic Circle and nobody goes there. And the natives up there are all in favor of drilling there because they make some money off of it. They get jobs out of it. And, you know, the area is so vast. I saw a Native American representative from Alaska today on the Fox News Channel talking about this area the size of Wyoming or Montana, did he say, that Joe Biden has made out of bounds. But they want the production, the oil production there. The natives do. Yes, sir. And by the way, and Seton Motley talks about this at lessgovernment.org as well. Open borders, another Joe Biden thing, driving wages down. Isn't that great? Yeah, and this flow of immigrants coming into the country illegally hurts American workers, employees. Job losses, stagnant wages, the cost of everything skyrocketing, crime, mayhem. The Democrats are in charge. Isn't it amazing? Yes, it is. All right, let's take another phone call, Michael. Let's go to Art calling from Leesburg, Virginia. Art, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you, Chris. Do you remember the Arab oil embargo in the late 70s?
I do.
Well, you'll remember that there were two lessons that we learned out of that. One is that we needed to be energy independent so we were not at the mercy of our enemies. And the second lesson was that our economy was based on hydrocarbons. So everything that we do and produce is affected by the price of hydrocarbons, another word for oil. Because your shirt, for instance, has synthetics, the tar that paves the streets, that comes out of oil. And so when Biden wants to destroy oil, he's saying he wants to destroy our economy. And every time he affects the price of oil, it affects the price of inflation. So Mr. Biden is waging a war on us. And what bothers me is I have not heard anybody talk about the relationship between his war on oil and what it does to you. Because everything that you see around you has got hydrocarbons, the plastics in the car, paint, And so Mr. Biden hates us. And that's evident by the fact he's destroying our economy because of his stupid war on oil.
Well, you're 100% right. We are an energy-based economy. President Trump achieved energy independence. Joe Biden came in and has demolished that. And it's great news for Saudi Arabia. It's great news for Russia. It's great news for Iran. Everything they do benefits Iran. And just yesterday, the Panhandler Broadcasting System reports, Art, Biden cancels last oil and gas leases in Alaska's Arctic refuge. And they've got a picture of 3 polar bears who are looking distraught, emotionally forlorn at the National Panhandler Radio, suckling on the taxpayer teat. Biden cancels last oil and gas leases in Alaska's Arctic refuge, overturns sales held by Trump because, and again, the natives are in favor of it. The energy industry is in favor of it. It's the most remote corner of the planet Earth. We own it. Energy independence is good for us and bad for Saudi Arabia, right? And everything, Art, that Joe Biden is doing is good for the enemies of the United States of America and bad for the United States of America.
Well, remember what Obama is supposed to have said about everything he touches, and everything he's touched has turned to we know what. And I just think that the other thing you got to remember is he spent depleted the national oil reserve, our emergency reserve, and has not replaced it and has refused. So here you have a man who took an oath to uphold the law and protect us, and he's done everything to destroy us.
Yeah, that's a fact. And our strategic petroleum reserve has been depleted by Biden and not replenished. And President Trump had a plan to replenish the strategic petroleum reserve, which, you want to keep around for a rainy day. And Joe Biden has depleted that too, because, it might seem at some point, Art, like he's not on our side.
Yeah. Well, what I would also mention is that he has destroyed the volunteer military.
Well, that too. They're trying to make it an all-transgender force, and they're going to put on musicals on the decks of ships instead of being able to wage war against the ever-expanding Chinese Navy as they seek to dominate the planet Earth in the 21st century. They've said it out loud, and we're not getting in their way. The Chinese communists, who engage actively in slavery and forced labor and kill people to harvest their organs and send a bill to the families for the bullet after they execute people. The regime that has killed more people than any gang of gangsters in the history of humankind, the Chinese communists since Chairman Mao, 50 million to 70 million people murdered by that regime. And they are effectively taking over the world. And Joe Biden isn't smart enough to know that he's supposed to get in their way. And, but the Chinese did funnel millions of dollars to the Biden family coffers, so that might have something to do with it, more quid pro quo. Speaking of which, the Washington Post today has an article still claiming that there's no proof of any wrongdoing on the part of the Biden family and Hunter Biden. It's only right-wing media spreading conspiracy theories. That's what the Washington Post is typing today. Art, thank you, my friend. Art, did you work or do you work in the energy industry?
No, I'm an attorney. I am religious liberty is my niche. I am suing the government on behalf of chaplains who are essentially being destroyed by this administration.
In the military, impressive.
But I remember, the odd even days, filling your tanks and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
I also remember, and when you talk about what comes out of a barrel of oil, gasoline is less than a half. 16% of it is diesel, but the rest of it is synthetics. I mean,
the soles of your shoes, the tires on your car, the buttons on your shirt, oil is everywhere. And we, the United States, have reduced our CO2 output by 20% in recent years, unlike virtually every other country in the world. Thank you, Art. Good, smart stuff. Thanks a lot. And it sounds like you're doing great and noble work. God bless you. You know, President Biden's plan to inflict the digital dollar on us is already underway, and it's very important to understand the potential consequences for you and your family because, contrary to what they're telling us, this is not in your best interest or mine. And time is of the essence. So getting smart and taking action is a really great idea because you do want to protect yourself. You can help protect your savings from the risks of Joe Biden's digital dollar scheme by diversifying with gold and silver IRAs. Keep it safe. Call the experts, my friends at American Alternative Assets. Call them today at 888-4GOLD-20. That's 888-446-5320. They'll give you all the guidance you need to get smart on safeguarding your retirement savings. Say no to Joe Biden's digital dollar scheme. Call 888-4GOLD-20, 888-446-5320. Call them today. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Yeah, you know, if you want to undermine the United States, undermining our energy sources and making everything much more expensive is a great way to undermine the United States of America. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Jeff calling from Columbia, Maryland. Jeffrey, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Jeff.
Long time no talk.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I own about a dozen rental properties in Howard County, and I love sending out my notices, that say, due to the nature of the current mismanagement of government and economic conditions, your rent is going up.
Really? You own about 12 properties, and you got to send out the rent increases because everything is costing you more money.
Exactly.
Raise my rent.
I had to sell my Gatling gun to pay my expenses this year.
No, you didn't. Now that is...
Yeah, I did. It was taking up too much room in the garage. I couldn't get another vehicle in there. I mean, it was... And I'd had fun playing with it for 8 or 10 years, so time to let somebody else play with it.
Wow. You couldn't just mount it on the roof of one of your cars and still keep it in the garage?
No, it would be too tall.
That is fun. Well, yeah, everything's more expensive. Everything. You bet. Yeah, gas, electric, asphalt, light bulbs.